this is another one going back in the box. And now we open this guy. It's gonna be hard to do with one hand.
You want me to hold your phone?
Just hold that.
Oh.
That?
Yep.
Or yeah, okay.
Oh, you open it. I'll hold it. I'll hold the box.
There we go. Ooh, that's pretty weird looking.
I think you're looking at his back.
He has a tentacle face.
Yeah. That guy looks nasty. Who thought rescuing this guy or waking him up was a good idea?
I'm so glad we spent the last 3
Oh, he's got a mask.
unleashing this guy on the world.
He has a mask in his hand. That's kind of neat. So we should call him Tim.
Tim.
There are those
Tim
who
the
call
Enchanter?
me Tim.
Nice, I finished that.
I shall name you Tim.
Part of the story, part of a spoiler, I guess, is that I had the Plagueherald. And just like all the other characters, we were going to retire and move on. I completed the quests and everything in order to get the new character. But he never really got to retire. He kind of died. I don't want to spoil it for a lot of people, but we are now, or I am now, playing the Plagueherald. This guy is crazy. Well, he's evil. He's just does crazy things. Like, he curses everything. He poisons everything. He wounds people. Like, he can, but he's barely got any health. He's kind of basically like a mage in a way, right? But he deals out nastiness, and sometimes even at the cost of your allies. It's nuts. But either way, one of the coolest looking little characters. Right? That was very... There he is. Now it's hard to see because this is all white, but he's got his mask in his side here, and he's got kind of like a tentacle face. You know, with raggedy clothing, right? And on top of that, he hovers, he floats. So let's just get started.
Okay, so really quickly here, just after scoping him out, he looks pretty cool. I'm going to take some Death World Forest again and coat the base right away so I don't forget, and that way I won't have white show up through when I put my texture down. I even cover a little bit on top of that little bit in the middle there because I'm going to cover that as well. He's going to be hovering. So his lower half looks like a pretty deep brown, so I'm going to use some Doombolt brown. And we're going to cover that. And again, this is just a base, so you know there's going to be other layers and shades and stuff to bring out definition, and his tentacles and all that kind of stuff. So the main thing is to get the main base color down first. So here I take my little grinder and my knife, and you can see right along there, there's the press line. You know, just that little bit of extra plastic that you just need to kind of curve off Otherwise, your model's going to look like crap, right? So here I am just kind of cleaning up as I've noticed that. And then I'll be ready to paint again. So now back to painting. We're going to be painting with some Averland Sunset, and that's going to be the middle part of his tethered old cape or whatever it is that he has there. You know, so a little bit in the front, a little bit on the sides, just that middle section in the back, and that'll resemble just like in the picture. After I do some shades and whatnot too, to kind of fill it in and make it a little darker and dirtier as well, with all the holes that are in it. And here I'm just kind of touching up. I could see some of the places that I missed with the brown. And then now moving on to the top. Now the top, I'm using a color called Nagareth Night. And you kind of have to go over it a couple of times. It goes on and you can see brush strokes and stuff, so you kind of have to let it dry a bit, give it another coat, get that nice and dark. And then of course I'll do some highlights over top of it afterwards, and of course add some age to it with some, again, some washes, and kind of blend it in a bit. It's going to look pretty sharp, I think. And it'll be somewhat like the picture. Now I really want that cape to look dirty, so I'm jumping it in and I'm getting some known oil jeez, in there, and just kind of getting that first coat of highlights in, filling in those holes and the crevices and stuff, just to kind of bring it out a bit right off the bat. I'm gonna add a shade with some earthy tones to it afterwards. I just wanted to get the black in there now. Now here I'm just using a standard black from Citadel, just to kind of get in right up in the top there, because when you look at the picture, that part's dark. So now I'm just using a gray, and this is going to be for his jacket. Now his jacket is just basically a gray, and then of course when I add the shades and stuff to it after, that'll just bring it into a dirty gray and highlight areas. I won't have to do a whole lot of highlighting otherwise, just because he really is kind of dark and dingy, like he's a plague that's been rose from the grounds or the crypts or the whatever, right? And he's not really that bright looking. It's kind of the opposite of the last one we did, like the Sunkeeper, where everything was super bright. This guy is going to be kind of dark. Even though we got some vibrant colors, they're going to be dark colors later. Here I'm just continuing to finish the front after I kind of figured out where his jacket is and where the straps are, and you know, and then where the rest of this part of him is. So when he's all white, it's hard to distinguish at first until you start getting some paint laid out. Now here I'm using Cadian flesh tone just for his little tentacles. That's just my first layer. I'm going to add a little bit of an olive green on top of that after, because there's a bit of a green tinge to them, you know, along with all those other tentacles that hang out from underneath him as he kind of hovers there and floats there. Now I'm going to do his belt. And the belt in that, I'm using a Xanduri dust. Again, just going light because it's going to darken up after, along with this little pouch that he has to the side there. And then I'll paint the clasps with a silver so that they stand out as well. I figured it's time to get some of that cracked earth on there. Now, I'm going to build this up because there's this little bit of a pedestal that this floating character is on, and I kind of want to blend that out a bit so that it really kind of looks like he's more just floating above the ground with these tentacle things. So this is a really good thick stuff to kind of do that with. Now, painting the tentacles, I'm using a Vallejo Air olive green, which goes on kind of like a layered light wash. So I have to do this over and over, like a few rounds to darken it up, but it's great because it really shows that detail that I didn't want to take away from the multitude of little tentacles and whatnot that he has coming out from his hands to whatever those are for feet or legs or whatever it is that he has there. And now I think he's really kind of starting to take form. Look at that. Pretty freaking cool. So a couple of spots to fill in down there. And then that's pretty much it for the first layer on his tentacles. And now just doing his hand, cleaning up the mask. And for the mask, using Stone Golem from Army Paints that I want to bring up after. So Stone Golem's kind of a gray, and then I'm going to use a bit of a blue to kind of bring that hue out in it that it has in the picture. So here I am putting that second layer onto the tentacles. They're coming out a little darker green there now. That looks pretty cool. And now some Rune Fang steel, just for that belt buckle there. Right, and there's a couple of clasps around that gem, which I'm going to fill that in after and then use an articoat to cover it to make it look more like a gem. And then just those little clasps. Now in the picture it shows some on his jacket, but it doesn't look as though they made it on here. Right, I went over it and I don't see them, so I'm not going to just try and paint them in because I think that would look silly if it doesn't have the definition behind it. Now for some Deathclaw Brown and some Steel Legion Drab. Very light brush just to bring out some highlighting. You know, so just a very, very light dry brush. Doing the same here with a light blue. And that's the Lawthorn blue, right? To do the same for the top. And you can see there. Just to see it, just to bring that out, just to lighten it up a bit. And it may look extreme right now, but once I add the wash, and there's the Agrath Earth shade from Citadel, and that's what I'm going to add to it. Before that, let's finish off the mask. Like I said, was just that hint of blue. That's what I do here. That crusted earth looks fantastic. It totally hides the line there too. It's great. So here's our wash. Now we're just gonna douse the whole guy with this. Like, look at that. Just give her. There's so many holes and crevices and things, and he's dirty. He's a dirty Plagueherald. And he needs lots of dirty stuff all over him. And look at that. That's gonna look fantastic. So I'm quite happy with that. Now it's time to finish off the base. Get the big stones, get some glue out, move that around. Get it all ready to go. And grab my needle nose and just place a couple of big stones in there. Just like I did with all the other ones from Gloomhaven, so all of their bases match. And then it's the battlefield brown battleground, and just to sprinkle over the rest of the glue, fill it in, make it look cool. So we got the cracked earth in the front, we got the battleground and rocks in the back. It's gonna look great. That's him, man. I think that looks pretty slick. Just gonna get a quick clear coat on that just to protect him after the glue dries. And we'll do a couple other touch-ups and we'll be all done. Alright, so last couple of things. Gonna do that gem using a purple. This is Exurus or something like that, whatever. But anyway, it's just a purple. I'm gonna make it a purple gem because it's purple in the picture. And give it a nice coat in the center there. And there we go. Then, using a little bit of Storm Host Silver, which is actually a technical that could be applied after your matte finish is done, right? And still hold strong. You're not going to rub it off. So I just kind of go over the clasps and his, belt buckle and that just to kind of reinforce it a bit, make it shine. And then lastly, I take some Articoat and go over the gem to give it that kind of gloss glass finish. And then that's pretty much it. Cover up, do a little bit of a gloss to the rest there too, and there he is. He's done. So like, share, and please subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you then.
It might probably look small. It might probably look small.